we could be looking as much as 55% increase in water rates to pay for just that $14 million project. If Crew did come along, about 10%. So a much lower increase in water rates over probably the next 5 years.
Any questions, members of council? Man, I beg your pardon.
At what point, obviously, after this is approved as financing, do we then try for grants, or are we already in the process?
It would be in this process. The Virginia Department of Health does have some grants. If you remember the aeration system, we applied very similar to this with an expectation of a 50-50 grant loan and turned out to be a 100% grant. So this is, in effect, also a grant application. But we'll also look at USDA funding. We'll look at others. For that amount of money, Bob Lauterberg, our finance director, our finance consultant, he's not certain that the Virginia Resource Authority, which would ultimately govern this particular loan grant project, is prepared to award $14 million to a single project. So it might have to be a blending of sources, including USDA, a DHCD, any other. We are also working on an application that Chastity's working on with the post commander and with the Department of Army to see if there's some assistance that can be had there. And I think that's due June 17th. Huge number. Dramatic.
Members of council, do you have any more questions? Were you finished? I didn't mean to cut you off.
The pipe just ain't getting no newer. It's an old cast iron pipe. Speaking with Mr. Flippin and Michael Alder out there, Mr. Flippin has more of the institutional knowledge. He reiterated for years when they would repair it, they did it with lead solder. And as you know, lead and copper is a no-no these days. So we're trying to remove those from our system wherever possible.
I'm gonna be hunting up a motion here. The manager is requesting authorization to make application for $14.6 million for funding assistance with the raw water line project. May I have a motion?
14.2 or 14.6?
14.2.
14.206.
14.206. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Nash moves and Mr. Almond second. Now, do we have any discussion?
Where are we with Crew?
I got a text message from the town manager and Crew today, and he has not heard anything, nor have I. Nothing. Crickets. Now, I don't know if Prince Edward is hearing something, but as far as Crew or Blackstone, we have had no informal or formal communication whatsoever from the state. Nothing.
Well, Crew's having some kind of issue because we couldn't even drink water in the school system today.
That's the
really?
second time recently, too.
It's a turbidity due to all the rain, from what I understood.
It could be turbidity at the plant. They've had that issue recently. Just haven't heard anything. Don't know. Bob Lauterberg has spoken with Mr. Markowitz, and he was very reserved in his commentary and did reiterate that anything they decide to do would not hurt the town of Blackstone. So I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. I decode and encrypt or de-encrypt the message, and I don't know. It's such a slam dunk to me. I would
Well, a
think
lot
it
of the-
would have been resolved already. I just can't fathom why the state would.
A lot of the county employees are stating that it should have been done decades ago.
Should have been done decades ago. And I can tell you in 2000, I believe in 4, there are letters signed by Jimmy Harris, our previous mayor, or 2 mayors ago, offering to build that water line at no cost to the town of Crew.
Wow.
Pay it back in their fee structure. And Crew at the time must have been right after that drought and it started raining, and it didn't seem like such a big issue. So we were first contacted by the state in 2017 about the state running a pipeline directly to the town of Blackstone and bypassing Crew. And it was 2017, and it's been going on for 7 years. We've been back and forth with the state having discussions about this.
Excellent question, Ms. Wynn. Any other questions before we vote? We're voting on making application for this $14.2 million to assist in the raw water project. Mr. Nash has moved. Mr. Almond is second. Ask for roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Wynn.
That's a lot of money, but we need it done.
Is that an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries 6-0. Item number 4 it's a draft ordinance concerning leasing 410 South Harris Street. Mr. Van Orbeck, Mr. Harf.
I'm going to ask Mr. Harf to come up to the podium with me
Absolutely.
and explain any or answer any questions you may have. And obviously, Pastor Warren is here with some of his congregants.
Sure. So basically, this was to make the earlier RFP that the town had sent out conform with the Virginia Code, which basically says that if the town is going to propose a lease of its property, we need to do it with an RFP and also a draft ordinance. So you actually have the ordinance essentially attached to the RFP, and then that will go out with the RFP so that the potential bidders or the entities that are giving proposals understand exactly what the ordinance is going to look like. So essentially what we've done is provided a draft ordinance with, of course, as you can see, there's a space for the entity to be filled in with whoever is awarded the proposal. But otherwise, what we're asking council to do is vote on this language and approve this ordinance to go out with the RFP. So this essentially will be voted on tonight, hopefully, and then will go out as is or as amended by council with the RFP.
But it will be advertised later for formal adoption. You're just approving using this form, correct?
No, I mean, no, I mean, this ordinance, essentially, that's what we're doing. That's basically what we're doing now. So we advertise the ordinance.
We have not.
We have not.
We have not advertised that ordinance, no.
Okay, well, let me backtrack a second. So so what town manager said is correct then. What we'll do is we'll vote to approve this ordinance, which will be advertised we'll need to advertise the ordinance. And then
Before we vote, or can we vote tonight?
no, we can vote tonight to
Advertise it.
yeah, I think what we're gonna have to do is vote to advertise the ordinance.
Yes.
And we're gonna have to then advertise it. But that's gonna delay the process to send out the RFP because we can't send out an ordinance until we know exactly what it's gonna look like.
How
So
how many advertisements do you have to put out?
just of the
One or
ordinance?
two?
I believe technically it's one. Most localities do two.
But we could do one and come back on the 5th, right?
I think technically you can do that, yeah.
Okay.
So this goes out with the RFP. So RFP's advertised, this is right underneath it.
That's once approved, this will go out with the RFP. Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. So basically what should be done is by the time this comes back and it's awarded, there shouldn't be any guessing from the bidder as to what this ordinance is going to look like. So that's why we asked for approval beforehand, so then it can go out as is.
Okay. So,
And I'm sorry,
Typically-
and I got mixed up there. We're bringing it to you tonight so we can send it out for public
well,
notice.
typically, I prefer a motion in a second. But
sir.
this is not the garden variety stuff we normally deal with, so council, give a lot of leeway about questions and answers before we go any further. Do we need a motion to advertise? What do you need us to do tonight, is what my question. Because it's virgin territory for me.
Really, yeah, if there's a motion to move forward with advertising of the
Okay.
ordinance, I think
All right.
that's sufficient.
So move,
I beg your pardon?
so move.
Oh, so Mr. Page has moved.
Advertising the ordinance, are we also prepared to advertise the RFP?
I think we already voted to advertise an RFP, yeah.
As long as that's understood?
Do we want to solidify that we're voting for this RFP or?
This ordinance and that RFP, regardless of
la-
any previous vote.
For the last,
Mr. Page, what I'd like to do is just wrap it all up in one for abundance of clarity.
well, what happened with the last vote, if y'all remember, is we voted to issue the RFP and the ordinance once the attorney has created the ordinance. So I mean, technically, we've already done that.
I would like to separate them if possible.
And Mr. Page, your motion is to approve this
Just as
ordinance for
advertising,
advertising.
for advertising.
Mr. Almond, did you want to do something different than that? Did you want
We're just solely voting on the ordinance.
Yeah.
I do have, not diminishing the mayor nor the town manager, but it gives up the council's, by just reading it, it looks like it gives up our authority as to who we choose. Because it says that the council hereby authorizes and directs the mayor and the town manager to enter into and execute a lease Okay, so that's where we'll decide it prior to that.
Yes, sir.
Before you execute this
After the
ordinance,
bid,
you'll
yeah.
decide.
That's
I'm
why,
not gonna-
I read that wrong.
Listen.
That was my
I read it wrong.
That's
I'm
why I
not
made
gonna
the
sign any
motion.
document that takes control of this town away from y'all.
I wouldn't think
No.
you would, or Philip, but.
No.
So, yeah,
It,
so the
it
council.
read
would-
wrong, but it's right.
I'm just motion to advertise it, that's it.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a very odd process that the Virginia Code makes you go through. It makes no sense to me that we would advertise an ordinance without a person that's in, or an entity that's actually listed. But that's what the code says.
So now
that's
I
all.
do have a motion. I would like a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Gorman, second. Okay. Any other questions, or do you have any more comments? Now's the time. Let's do it right.
No, I mean, to be honest, this ordinance as drafted is basically a form thing. I mean, there's not, there not much leeway to these things. You're basically just laying it out there so the public knows this is what's going
Okay,
to happen.
so where is the RFP we're sending out? Have we got, has that already been done?
It is not.
Okay,
We
so,
had the original RFP.
okay.
I may have Jillian take a look at it, make sure.
Can we have that by the 5th? Okay.
My only concern is, Pastor Warren has
Get
pointed
that
out
on
to
the,
us
get that on the
before,
agenda for the
is
5th.
the fact that, all right, we go through these processes, but in the end, do we have the money to do these? So I feel like, do we put on false hope? But then again, I see the other side of this, because it could be that they end up proposing that there's nothing that costs the town of Blackstone.
If you be so kind, in closed session tonight, I think we'll have some answers that might soothe your nerves
I
about
just
that.
don't like, as Pastor Warren has said
Well-
before, we just keep the can on red.
Well, I had a conversation with him today, and I think he understands that we, it's a closed session issue, but it may soothe a lot of nerves. You, Mr.,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Mr.
I
Page.
mean, I agree with Eric, but we gotta put it out in order to see what the proposals are,
I see that side of it.
Cause this,
There's no $100,000 funding where I can.
right. I mean, the church could come and offer to buy the building,
Correct, that's
you know what I
why
mean?
said
So-
it's probably, I was putting the cart before the horse.
You're fine. I would ask the same question, because I haven't informed you
Correct.
that kind of question would probably be answered tonight by the manager and attorney. Legal issues, okay? Or disposition of property. Can we have that on there? Yeah.
I still
Mr.
got a
Warren,
question.
okay.
Yes, sir.
What are you gonna tell these people from Spring Hill? that
Well,
keep
come on up,
coming
Mr.
here?
Do
They
you
keep
mind coming
up here
forward?
every month, and we not telling them nothing. So what are we gonna do for them? I know these people are tired of running that.
Well, I know they're
And
tired
you
of
would
running.
be too.
I would be, but I mean, I think we're doing everything we can to function like a government function, you know?
Once again, we understand it's a process, and we're willing to work with you all and work through the process. We just wanna make sure it's done right and it's done legal before we, end up in any, a bad position.
Well, I understand Mr. Miller's frustrations, and I too at times get frustrated with the way things are done, but, there's a reason why we do things right. And I very much appreciate your attitude. And, as we've conversed a little bit between the last two meetings, we'll continue to do so. I'll keep you at the forefront of any information I have, legally, okay? All right?
So just to be clear while he's here, just so I'm understanding this, we'll advertise this, and on the 5th, we'll approve this ordinance, and we'll probably also see an RFP at that time, we'll approve that, and then we'll advertise the RFP, and then the next meeting, we'll approve whatever bids come in. Is that right? Is that what we're looking at, or deny? Okay.
I will be
Timeframe.
bringing those to the council for approval, yes.
So we're looking at another 30 days at least, yeah.
But this continued meeting and a little hustle saves us another 15 days, okay?
Right.
So and I promise you, we're doing all that we can. Okay? All right, you satisfied?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight. Any other discussion about, Mr. Page has moved, Mr. Gormas is properly second to advertise the ordinance that is in your package. Is there any discussion? Ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item number 5 is a proposal for architectural services for the Armory. Mr. Van Orbeck?
Attaches a task order for the design and specifications and bidding and construction administration services for the last phase of the Armory renovations. The specific activities include, or are, equipment design, interior painting and finishes, and the exterior finish as budget permits. Now, That is not included in the budget. However, if you read this gentleman's estimate, it does include doing the outside of the building, and he's estimating $750,000 to finish these activities. We'll get into another item in the agenda, but this is going to be on the town. We did not receive the remainder of the grant application that we applied for.
The Crescent.
We did not receive it, and we'll notify you that it's another item, but we don't have a project unless we have a kitchen, and we don't have a project unless we paint. We can live without the exterior, but we can't live without the interior being completed, which will drive the budget down, and his fees would be adjusted appropriately so as a percentage. So if we turn out with a $500,000 project because we don't do the outside of the building, then his fees would be reduced by the appropriate amount. My expectation would be that
How much was the outside?
about $200,000.
But, can we discuss now? Can I
I'd
ask a question?
love a motion to approve, and then we could.
I think we're precursor, I think, discussion. I mean, I know the legal ways to, but before I make a motion, I mean,
Yeah.
$750,000, I need.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
know
I want,
where the heck we can find it.
Sure.
Exactly. And where are you gonna find the payments for that in the budget?
well, I mean, we discussed it, we went into this as a renovation, and the basis, the foundation of the, giving it the nod was that the college was gonna run a school or how to
Culinary,
cook there.
right.
But the kitchen's not included?
Not in the original project, no.
Let's don't lose sight of the fact that there was a referendum held in this town to spend up to $2 million of taxpayers' money. So,
And again, we have,
and I'm not advocating for that.
we have spent town funds,
Right.
those ARPA funds that could have been used to other projects, so we
Yep.
have spent town funds.
That's a good point too.
And I thought we had applied for some grants for the kitchen multiple times, even in this term. I remember we handled it early last year. We had some grants that were for the kitchen.
We've
Did
applied,
those-
if my memory serves, we've applied for 6 different grants, not including the ARPA money, which is COVID relief funds that we've received. We applied for 6 and we received 5. Received
For the kitchen itself?
No, for the project.
But I
the total
remember
project.
specifically that we got approved for a grant, and we approved that grant for the kitchen.
but we had to take monies from the budget for the construction. So we'll run short
Might
in
have
the
been
construction
approved for the
side.
kitchen, but it wasn't used for the kitchen.
What would a note, what would the payments be on a $750,000 note, or how long?
You just say it's because the math is easy.
805,000 if you include the architectural engineering fee.
$800,000 over 10 years, $80,000 a year.
A little more than our fire truck.
Gotta do it.
I make a motion, we send this to the finance committee.
Yeah, I'll second that.
I mean,
I'm asking authorization first and foremost to begin this process. As far as paying for it, yeah, we gotta go to finance committee and come up with a plan. There's no doubt. But I do
Correct.
need to get started on this kitchen.
Make sure I'm on the right page here. If we don't do this kitchen, we're gonna have to return a lot of money.
I would think you'd have to give back the grant money, yeah. I mean, the whole thing was predicated upon.
So we're kinda like
Stuck
in
between a
poker
rock and
terms,
a
we're
hard
locked in
place.
it.
Did we get the $500,000 Southeast Crescent grant?
We did not get.
We did not,
We do have that in the agenda tonight, but we did not receive it.
is the
is it a
55,000?
no, or we just haven't got it yet?
A no, a hard no.
Is the
Guaranteed
55,
that, girl.
But nevertheless, council, we've gotta go forward with this, and we need an architect. So it looks to me like, and you're welcome to do whatever you like, but it looks to me like we're gonna have to go to Plan B and figure
Okay.
out a way to give this grant money back,
I mean, if we had went with the,
or we gotta move forward. I don't see, is there any other choice?
I mean, if we had went with the cheaper insurance, it would have covered this. I'm just saying, pretty much all of it. Is there money in the budget, current budget for this $55,000 expense?
Well, it would come out of the grant funds. I wouldn't, But we're gonna run short at the end is what's gonna happen.
You're talking about the other 750.
The end of it is gonna be the tough part, yeah. We got enough money between Tobacco Commission and to cover this and go, but we're gonna run short on the 750. That's where you're gonna get jammed up, and that's where we need to sit down with the finance committee.
And there,
Yeah,
I
talk
mean,
about-
obviously, I think you'll have us come up with a motion tonight for this, but all grant funds are obviously exploited and shot. We applied for everything.
No, I can't say we've applied for it.
I found one the other day and I couldn't figure out what time for it. The only thing is their award notice wouldn't be until the winter time. And by that time, we'll already be getting ready to finish the building, so I don't know if that'll work.
We have a deadline looming too, is that correct? For completion of the building?
Well, we need to be in that building teaching classes that spring, winter semester. It starts
I'll
in
withdraw.
January, perhaps.
I'll withdraw my motion to send it to the finance committee.
Yeah, I didn't think you would say it.
And I'm also contacted the colleges on trying to get grant funding from the Department of Education from that avenue to see if they can help.
Some furnishings or
Right,
something,
things
a
like that.
stove, whatever it
I'm
is.
supposed to hear back from them tomorrow to see what they can apply for from Department of Education, because we can't apply, because we're a government, but they're educational institutions, so they're able to apply. We may have to do the match since we are on that end, but, there would be the applicant for it if we're able to find enough to cover those revenues.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say that I move to approve this document with the architecture engineer, $55,000, with project cost estimate of $750,000, and I want to keep the exterior of the building there.
You do wanna do the exterior?
Kitchen and everything.
I mean, you look at the concrete, the sidewalks, that's not in the budget, parking lot, not in the budget, so,
But
there's plenty of stuff to do on the outside, but I don't need an architect to build sidewalks.
You just said the parking lot and all them wasn't in there, so
Second.
when is that gonna come up?
Next year after, as we can afford to do those things. Yeah.
We'll continue discussion now. Is there any other discussion? I have a second.
So,
Been
Mayor.
properly seconded by Mr. Page.
Oh, was. The 2.15 million we have at CB&T, we have a $400,000 line of credit there. Is that something we could use until this possible grant came
We have
through?
a $400,000 line of credit at Benchmark Community Bank.
Maybe I wrote it down wrong.
At Benchmark,
what's the
and we
purpose?
paid it off.
CB&T.
This year we borrowed the money, I remember we got new water meters and then we had the aeration. But there is a $400,000 line available to us at Benchmark Community Bank.
Don't we have, not 2.5, but don't we have 3.2 that's drawing a little over 100,000 in interest in a
We
year?
actually have, about $3,960,000 of undesignated funds, half of which, or approximately half, is in the, CD with, Citizens Bank, and the other half is in a treasury.
Treasure bond, and they're generating about 100 grand a year in interest,
$180,000.
so we can dedicate that possibly.
As long as it's not already dedicated, it's already dedicated.
Is it already,
Yeah,
is it tied up and rolling back over, or is
You
it tied
did
up into the
You did
budget?
at Finance Committee, I mean,
Well,
it's,
that's why I said we would have to dig into that at finances to see.
Yeah,
You think maybe you could get together between now and the 5th?
see about that.
because I think last year was dedicated to rolling over, adding to the balance.
Last year it rolled, the first year of interest from CD, we used to build the football complex. Concession stand and the drainage and the grading of the field. Last year, we rolled it over, $186,000 that we rolled over. This year, it'll also be about my estimate is $189,000. It may be off plus or minus depending on how Treasury performs, but,
But remember, you have to commit that for 10 years. If you're doing a 10-year note, that's not a,
if you borrow.
yeah, if we borrow it and use that money as a payment, we're committing that money for 10 years.
Well,
There's no fallback on
But
it.
I
Well,
think
what I
it
was
is a tool
saying is-
to consider.
Yeah, or you could just take the 189 and reduce the cost of the program by 189 and then borrow the rest, so the payment's low, is less.
But you gotta remember too, both of our issues don't, mature until January. Our CD and our Treasury don't mature until
Oh,
January.
it's always something, right?
Sounds like a good finance discussion.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna be fussing at me about the time before it's over. Mr. Nash has moved and Mr. Page has seconded to approve this, proposal for architectural services in the Armory. Is any more discussion? I ask for a roll call vote beginning with Ms. Nguyen.
Aye.
all right.
Motion carries 6-0. Item number 6, You've got good news about one grant, though. Go ahead.
Finally did get some good news here. The town of Blackstone had previously applied for and received $405,000 in affordable workforce housing grant through the Commonwealth Regional Council. We have 3 houses finished. We're trying to put somebody in one of the houses.
Ignore him for callback tomorrow, he's waiting on the contract tomorrow.
The house at the 600 block of Broad Street, so hopefully we can get that wrapped up. Commonwealth Regional Council, after its first round, had $225,357.46 remaining in this program. And they put out a second round, actually a third round of application, and we were selected to receive the full amount, $225,357.46. And I believe this is 3 houses, is it not? 3
Yes,
houses.
it is 3.
I'm not asking for any match because it's our revolving fund that we've created. As people buy their houses, we get paid back for the house. So that'll be used as a match for this.
Any questions about this?
You said the house on Broad is just about ready to,
It's ready for occupancy, there was some time.
Yeah, I
with
understand
Virginia
that.
Housing, but it's at Virginia Housing now, they're doing the contracts with Earl and them today, I'm supposed to get an update tomorrow to make sure we're moving forward.
All right. Item number 7 is the Diller Street ditch.
Yep, Dillard Street ditch. I think there were some, at one point in time, council was interested in seeing copies of any plans and drawings that we were proposing, but as you can see, we have a diagram in there. It's about 161 feet of, I believe it says 36-inch HDPE pipe for the Dillard Street ditch. This has been advertised. It is in the newspaper, should be again this week. And we are waiting bids, which will be opened on June 11th here in my office, or here in Town Hall.
Any questions, council? This was informational. Unfinished business number 8 is the Family Practice Center. You want to report on that?
Yes, just today I received the revised lease agreement. I met with Bon Secours via telephone, expressed to them some of the concerns in the community about their performance during COVID, taking new patients, all those kinds of things. No concrete demands, but I didn't get any concrete answers either. Their response was, we appreciate your concerns and we'll certainly work on that. They are proposing modifying the lease agreement. The lease agreement that we're looking at will be on June 5th, if agreeable to the mayor, set up the agenda. Is a 5-year lease. It was a 20-year deal to start with. 10 years was the first period of the lease between the town of Blackstone and Bon Secours. They paid the full amount of the building. They paid about $22,000 a month in rent. The building has been paid and has been paid since May of 2019. We are now completing the first of 2 5-year periods that they're entitled to request. We're completing the first one. 2019, the 10-year expired. 2024, the first 5 years is expired. And so we've got an additional 5 years that they are entitled to request. They have requested it, and they have made one change, and the rents are fixed for the next 5 years. I think it's $2,200 or $22 and change that we receive, and that's by the original agreement that was cut, back in 2009, 2008, when it was originally done. But basically, the town took out a note for the building, plus grant monies, and Ben, you may remember this better than I certainly can, but we were paying a note when I came here in 2011, and we made a last payment in May of 2019. So the building has been paid for, using the proceeds of their rent.
And if you can, give council a copy via email. Give us plenty of time to review for.
Yeah,
before
I
we
just
come
got
up
it today,
Wednesday.
so I'll forward it out to you.
Point out, if they're wanting to change something, point that out.
Only change is they want to start, they want to give us a 30-day notice. And I told them, I said, with procurement, we've had a leaking roof over there, and it's been on and off, and we fixed it, and we don't fix it, and then we get to it. I'm certainly going to recommend you not agree to it, but after 30 days, they want to bill us for repairs at the building. And I would not do that.
No
I
complaint.
would not do that. Okay?
We're going to move along to ongoing projects, and it looks like, 1 through 8, I believe. You want to just take them at your pace, Mr. Manager?
I'll go very quickly.
If I might, didn't he add something to unfinished business?
he said that Veterans Day and
Memorial Day discussion.
Veterans Day.
Got you. I'll give Mr. Miller the floor on the Veterans and Memorial Day service.
We said we was gonna support the Veterans Day and the Memorial Day service. We said we was gonna put an ad in the paper. And I don't think there was any other money involved, was it? So it's getting late to it, so I would like to make a motion that we take care of it.
Second.
What are we taking care of, Mr. Miller?
Getting an ad in the newspaper and, well, huh?
Has it been put in the paper yet, though?
No.
It's been sent over to go.
It has.
It's been sent over to go
I'll withdraw that.
for the.
All right, you good? All right,
Can I amend the motion? I mean, it's $160, as I understand, to put an ad in the paper for that, for these events, as per the,
We have an account where the town is billed monthly, Jennifer keeps up with it. So
yeah, well, I just had that from February there, which I'm gonna see. I'd like to make a motion that we, going forward, Memorial Day and Veterans Day, that we make sure there's an ad in the paper for those events to advertise each year going forward.
I don't see any problem with that,
And
council.
it's $320 a year.
Mr. Gorman says, Mr. Gorman has moved, and Mr.
I second.
Miller has second to, biannually advertise these two events by, Memorial,
Yes, sir.
Veterans Day
To
and
confirm, make sure there's an ad in there
Memorial,
advertising.
Memorial Day, right, Veterans Day?
Memorial Day and Veterans Day, yes,
Right.
sir.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank
you. Anything else? If you'll go through the ongoing projects at your pace, sir.
I'll go relatively quickly. The first one is dilapidated buildings. We're very pleased to announce that 911 Church Street is been removed and demolished at the owner's expense. 220 North Duro Street has been demolished with town forces. That was the old trailer that was there on Dillard Street across from those newer townhouses that have been constructed. And that trailer had been removed. That is actually part of the property that Southside Outreach purchased, and workforce houses will be built on there. And we will be reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses, not for the labor or equipment rentals, but landfill charges, asbestos charges, that sort of thing. And there were 2 asbestos invoices in your bills this week. Outstanding meals tax, I think Brittany, you can ask her any questions, but we still have some outstanding taxes to be paid from one particular business in town.
That was received.
We will receive the actual payment on our meeting. The balance we have roughly.
I think it says right here, $6,923.03 has been received by our attorney and will be paid to us.
That means he must be paying the legal fees, then, right?
Their legal fees,
About 130 of that is legal fees, out of the 900.
So some of it's still taxed.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, street improvements.
street improvements. Paving crews were supposed to be here today to mill and pave Northwest Avenue from the Barco Road intersection out to the 460 interchange. Weather last week, he sensed it coming, so as you can see, I put the week of May 20th to the 24th to be fairly general and broad and not make a commitment. He'll be here this week, but I'm not sure when. Okay. And that'll be paid for with VDOT paving monies, maintenance monies.
Anything at Wrigglesworth?
Just so you know, Mr. Miller had some questions about using the building, and I think the electricity's on and you can use the building. I'd have to check on the air conditioner, and I told you I would do that. Probably the next step over there is to put the fence back up. Okay, get the fence back around the building, and that we'll use that $50,000 until it's expired, and I'll let you know if we need any more. Okay. But one of probably the next steps is also to order a scoreboard to get that started. Taylor Bottom Block Grant, I think we covered the water portion of it. Yeah, Armory number 6, I think we covered. All bad news. That was where we did not receive the Southeast Crescent grant.
Yeah, no need to bring it all up again. Number 7, weatherization,
Weatherization, nothing to report at this time.
workforce housing, number 8.
I think Chastity gave you a little rundown over on 610 Broad Street. We're trying to wrap that one up. There were some issues before we could close on that particular house, and Chastity's trying to resolve that. But the house has had a CO issued. Hopefully, we can still work with the same family. The plan is to still work with the same family, but I think Virginia Housing originally qualified for a certain amount and then came back at a different amount. So we've got some work to do. But the house is sitting ready to be occupied, and we're ready for them to get in there and get our money back because we'll get paid back when they close. Alright. I think they're waiting on some countertops or cabinets over there.
Some work to be done in there, but she's still everything is her still same.
It's fine. Okay. And so you know the next homes, we received the additional 225 tonight, but we still have money left from the original 400. Those homes would be built on Tavern Street at the intersection of Dillard and Tavern. You can see we took some trees down, and we also took that mobile home down.
3, right?
Pardon?
3 lots in there. How about anything at the roundabout?
Nothing on the roundabout.
We
I did
ready?
send them a copy of an easement document that they're going to use to acquire easement from the county. And from, I guess, Mr. Gomez or whatever LC owns that particular piece of property out there where Nottaway Commons was going to be.
All right, you ready to jump into new business? Not to be confused with the Honorable Wesley
Honorable.
Gormas.
Wes Gorman. New business, would you like me to keep going? I think you handled
We've handled number 1.
That's correct.
Number 2 is resolution for adoption of the regional hazard mitigation plan.
Buddy Hyde, our County Emergency Services Planner, has put together a hazard mitigation plan update. We did put a public notice, not a public hearing notice, but a public notice stating that people could come and look at it, and that it would be discussed and that a resolution would be presented to you guys tonight. And basically what it is, a hazard mitigation plan is just that, as a plan. What are the things that we need to be working on? And primarily, what they see is replacing the fire hydrants, make sure our fire hydrants are in working order, and that's part of why we want to do these flow testing and making sure everything's working. And while we're there, there is a fire hydrant at the corner of 5th and Main that'll be repaired. If you notice, there's a bag on it, and that should be repaired very shortly. It talks countywide about flooding and those kinds of things. So everybody knows there's very little floodplain in the town of Blackstone. There is floodplain adjacent to the town of Blackstone, specifically towards the airport and Pickett and portions of Nottaway County. The only designated floodplain is actually our far western boundary that is just south of Route 460. Here. That is really the only designated floodplain that has been identified by FEMA in the town of Blackstone. There's plenty around it. But the hazard mitigation plan are the activities that we need to take on. Obviously, we need to repair hydrants, but there is one item that we're also gonna talk about on June 5th, and that item is swapping from chlorine canisters to hypochlorite. Chlorine canisters that we use now are pretty antiquated, and the gas, and chlorine gas is obviously a problem. So there is some discussion, and I don't have it in this year's budget, but it is something we'd like to work towards to replace the system of disinfection that we use at the water treatment plant. And we're asking, or Buddy's asking that the resolution be adopted so that he can submit it.
Is there a motion to adopt, council?
So moved, authorize the mayor to sign this document.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller seconds. Any discussion? The motion is to adopt the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Nash has moved and Mr. Miller is properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 6-0. Item number 3, VEMA fuel factor. Mr. Van Orbeck?
This again is good news. The fuel factor that will go on the bills, the fuel adjustment, the FA, for your utility bill, that will go on the bills that will be received June 1st, will reflect a much lower fuel adjustment factor. As you can see, there is also a chart, I think on the next page, or the page after.
Yeah.
One more. Bingo. You can see where it has been. 2 years ago, it was 3 cents, now 30 cents, and we're going down to significantly less, about 1/5 of the cost. Okay? Dramatic decrease, 1/4 of the cost.
Didn't the rate increase proportionally?
Pardon?
Didn't the rate increase proportionally?
The rates went up, the base rates
Yeah.
went up appreciably over that 4 years. Yeah.
I
But,
mean, this year, have you got the rates for this year yet?
the ones that were proposed in January. So we built that into the proposed budget. Now, they reserve until June to give us final numbers, but according to Dan, he doesn't see anything changing. They haven't notified VEMA that, oops, we made a mistake, or we're gonna have
You
to.
won't see your
True
rates
up or
go
anything.
up overall because of the fuel adjustment. You see a little decrease.
Right. Mm-hmm. Very good.
The base rates this coming year, as so you all know, are proposed to remain flat. Okay. So your average customer is technically gonna have a decrease in bill,
And this is all informational, correct?
correct?
Item number 4 is the workforce housing.
Chastity, why don't you come up here and talk about it?
Good evening, Ms. Bryant.
Hello, everyone.
How's your mind?
It's Monday. So, huh? That's perfectly fine. So Virginia Housing is behind the Commonwealth Regional Council grant that we apply for the workforce housing. They're the ones that supply the money to Commonwealth Regional Council for those grants that we've been approved for. So we took it a step further and applied directly to Virginia Housing's Community Innovation Grant. In order to do so, we had to find an innovative way for workforce housing to be a part of this and be able to hopefully get funding. So what I did was go in and find a way where I call it Workforce in Me. Pretty much it'll have the same rubric as workforce housing, but the potential homeowner will be able to assist the contractors in certain construction elements for the home, like painting the bathroom or putting up mirrors, nothing that requires them to have licensing, but stuff that they can go in and say, I was a part of building my own home. So in applying for it, I took the 3 homes that we are currently got funding for based on the amount it costs to build those, averaged it out to see if we could, how much it would cost to build roughly 1 home. Also taking into consideration the potential homeowner doing some of the work. So we'd apply for $316,800 for 3 homes, with our match being $141,792.50 out of that revolving fund. So we could still have funds left over, and hopefully, if funded, we could put that money toward it, and those potential homeowners can be a part of the project plan.
And this application has been submitted?
Yes.
It has been submitted, and we're asking for ratification of the submission. We're not asking for any additional local dollars, only that the match would come from the revolving monies. Part of that $225,000 that we just received, and also the monies that we have left from the $400,000.
And the match is just go to another home, which is what that revolving fund is. for.
Correct.
Got a question for the Ms. Bryant. It's an interesting program. What would happen if one of our participants get hurt on the job site?
There's a form in there to outline if they have any ailments, anything dealing with the program, as well as releasing the town of any kind of harm due to injury due to them working in their own home. They also wouldn't be able to do anything until they go through, of course, with the contractor to make sure they understand what they're getting themselves into as far as chemicals, glass, different things like that. But majorly, they'll just be overseeing and learning as they're going.
Workplace hazards, things like that?
Right,
Gotcha.
different things like that, before they can even go in and do anything.
Thank you. It makes me feel better.
Yes, sir.
Move to approve. Sign this off, or, we've already submitted it. Move to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion, council? Mr. Nash has moved, Mr. Miller is properly second. I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Nguyen.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item number 5 is airport. The concrete apron. Mr. Van Orbit?
We have completed the lighting project at the airfield, and I think you, if not the final, but nearly the final invoice was in your batch of bills that you guys approved tonight. If you go to that top drawing, if you look approximate, and I know this is very confusing, Jake and I have looked at it many, many times, but this is an approximate drawing of the 31 acres that the town of Blackstone was deeded in 1984 at the airfield. This comes from our airport layout plan, and this is the proposed development for the project. We had put the lighting in, I don't know the best way to do this, but I'll try right here. If you look, this is our current FBO building, the brick building where UAV Pro operates the fixed-based operator in Blackstone. This is the taxiway and fueling apron that we paved 2 years ago. if I'm not mistaken. We just finished putting lighting here and here, and taxiway lighting following the extent of the taxiway back to the federal property. The next stage in this project is to build this. Hold on, getting there
It's
pretty
about
close.
half that.
But there's a grassy area there now, and you can see there are proposed 2 hangars to be built here. This has been built, and in order for an aircraft, we would like to expand that taxiway. We have talked to the state about receiving grant funds, and because this, hangar is privately owned, we are not eligible for grant funds. Bad news. Good news is, you have enough money in your fuel sales and fuel concessions already set aside cash-wise, that I believe the $75,000, which I'm estimating it'll cost, can be covered. And I have an expectation we'll do it out of concrete, because we can do it quicker, and we don't have to have as much base preparation and different layers, stone and then base. You can put the concrete in there, and I think it would be a 6-inch pad. I talked to Jason about it several years ago, and I think his number was in the $60,000 range. I'm telling you 75, because I just want to be sure that I have enough. Right now, you have about $156,000 of cash sitting in the town's money market account as a result of proceeds from selling.
And for those that don't know, we can't use that money for anything but the airport. Okay?
We did, but we can't.
Well, I wasn't gonna say
We don't go
that.
back to that.
I wasn't gonna say.
I built a baseball complex with fuel money one year.
That strip is originally there because there used to be a fence. Go ahead. There used to be a fence there beforehand that separated the ground and the air side. Since the Army fenced the entire installation, that fence has been since removed. So it's just dead space. And it prevents our new electric charging station from being able to turn around an aircraft of that size. That
When you
electric
say,
charging station goes directly on the corner where the proposed concrete is.
At this point, just requesting authorization to solicit bid.
You've heard the manager's request. Can I get a motion to approve? All right, Mr. Nash has moved. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Page, you have a question?
so when you say our electronic, what do you call it, charging
Electric
station?
charging station.
That's a town-owned charging station going there?
Correct.
Okay,
It hasn't been installed yet, but it's coming.
oh, that's where it's gonna go, okay.
Out of curiosity, because I don't know how the money ebbs and flows through the fuel, how long does it take to bring in $75,000 worth of, I guess you'd say, profit,
Let's say excess revenue.
excess revenue? How
There's no such thing as profit.
No.
We don't do
long
that.
does it take to recover that?
I think if you look in our budget, I think the proposed sales are in the $500,000 range, and please forgive me if and our purchases are probably 325,000. So I would say that's probably
6 months?
6 months of sales, yeah. But the difference between the purchases and
That's a good question, Mr. President.
sales.
Any other questions or discussion?
I'll fully say that I'm gonna abstain from the optics, however, legally it doesn't benefit my employer in any way. We have plenty of room to taxi aircraft around the other way. I'm willing to do.
I was just wondering if one of the businesses were putting in the electronic station, or if we were, that wasn't up for questions, so.
It may have been before your time on council, but there's actually there was a lease agreement or an agreement signed. Please help me check with the name.
Because I think it's a good idea.
Technology.
Beta Technologies, and they're
Now,
scheduled to put that in.
that leads to my next question, will that be a source of revenue for the airport?
I think the sale of electricity is actually Southside Electric, so I don't think there's actually a payment to the town. What's the proposal? Hopefully it generates more traffic.
And we get three-phase power ran there with a free charging station for both aircraft and vehicles.
It won't be our electricity being sold.
Gotcha.
Any other questions or discussion? I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Nguyen.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries 5-0-1.
While we're at the airport very quickly, and I won't belabor this, the town has had the vertiport painted on a taxiway that is located at the airfield, and the vertiport painting has been completed. Looks pretty good. We've submitted that all to the state, and the state should issue certainly the nation's first vertiport license ever. So that was the last step that we had to complete, and our airfield should be the first licensed vertiport, certainly in the United States and potentially the world. So, if anybody wants to take a ride and look at our new vertiport, I'd be more than happy to take you out there. And
Awesome.
I'd like to say that Greg Warner gave us an excellent bid and did a pretty good job. I mean, it looks good. Yeah, jumped on it and looks good. Last item, playground equipment. As you know, we have $25,000 in the budget for playgrounds, and we're asking to overspend the budget. We looked at the different types of playgrounds, and Chastity went through, and you can ask her, she's really done a lot of the work on this thing. The type of playground that we would like to put in, that we think is gonna be more durable, and usable, is $32,000, or approximately $32,000. But that does not include the borders, or the mulch, or the medium that needs to go underneath the playground equipment, nor does it include any, swing sets. At this point, we have set aside the $40,000. Originally it was 25. We have set aside in cash in our money market accounts $40,000 to go ahead and install a playground. We're asking, because it is more than the 25, that you endorse that and allow me to seek actual bids to do this. And I think a lot of this will be internet work and websites and all that sort of thing. But we would like to go forward with putting the playground at Wigglesworth Stadium.
Members of council, you've heard the manager's request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Looks like I hear Mr. Miller and Mr. Gormas. Is there any discussion? Mr. Miller moves, Mr. Gormas properly seconds to, authorize the town manager to set aside $40,000 for this project. Is that correct?
Actually, to seek bids.
Seek bids. I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Nguyen.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Is that all the unfinished business?
What about the curb?
Beg your pardon?
Second round of visitors, I think is
Yeah,
included here.
yeah, well, I'll get to that.
What
We get
about
through
the
the committee
sidewalk?
referrals. So I'm gonna formally
Bill.
refer to, account and finance the funding of the, kitchen, the additional money we're looking at. And also,
The
we
side.
have a 501c3 donation policy. We have a 501c3 donation policy, health and ordinance.
I'm gonna say yes, there is. I'm not really sure. I think it was a Jennifer Daniel inclusion, but they may apply to things like Juneteenth. They may apply to things like the Chamber.
That was that $5,000 limit.
That's what Mr. Gormas brought up with the,
Yeah.
limiting it to a certain
Up to
number.
5, yeah.
Or 3, or whatever you came up with. Okay, so I'm gonna refer that to Mr. Almond, to Health and Ordinance. Okay, Mayor's Minute. In your package, in the informational section, you'll find a Memorial Day service, announcement. I'm not gonna be in town, I'm on a family vacation, but I certainly encourage everyone that can, to participate and to show our support. It's on the 27th, which is Memorial Day, at 11 a.m. at Lakeview Cemetery. So if you can attend, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it.
We'll be greeting, as Mr. Nash also has commitments that day, I will agree to represent the town.
That's very kind. Would you have some remarks, Mr. Listman? Mr. Listman would ask me.
Prepare some remarks, but they have a guest speaker who's gonna do the majority. I'm
Well,
just gonna do more of a
Welcome remarks. That's outstanding. I'll call.
That'd be great. If you could have something prepared, absolutely.
Okay.
You'd make-
All right, I can get to that this week. Item number 2 I have on the Mayor's Minute. You have a letter left at your desk from Mr. Fred Hanberry of 213 Gravett Avenue. He was with us this evening. I don't want to act on it tonight. I'm going to seek an audience with the town manager and go over his concerns. And then I will get back to you at the continued meeting on June the 5th.
Why are you talking June 5th? Remember, this is a budget work session, correct, June
Right.
5th? So I don't wanna push but so much on the budget work session. I mean, there's some legwork to be done.
I think this is just gonna be a 60, I agree with you as well. So, the only thing I really added was the church.
Okay.
But it's a great point, and that's the reason I wanna have it over there, focus on the budget, roll the sleeves up. But I'm not gonna add anything to it unless it's critical. Unless you wanna call another meeting to deal with it, and I don't think you do. Okay. The third and last item is the ditch on Forest Drive, Mr. Gormas. 222 Forest Drive. Pleased to hear today that he'll give you an update that we got the easements, and then, so it's a go.
Mr. Hamilton signed his easements today, and met with Dan and Andre looking at existing utilities. It's my expectation that the contractor will be here not this week, but next week. Okay. Mr. Hamilton did sign a temporary construction easement to lay that bank back significantly. I was concerned that it may affect the overhead utilities, and Dan and I confirmed today when we took the plans out there and actually sat down, we don't have to move any utilities, so that was a big saver. But I will tell you, during that 5-inch rain, it was a heck of a wet spot. I don't know about Mr. Divers, but man, it really, you can see where the road deteriorated and that sort of thing. We had a culvert back up and got plywood and sticks and everything in there, so we'll be cleaning that out. This week, that's outside the scope of Ryan Gunn's project. And this, Mr. Hamlin's actually had water get in the basement of his house, because when that pipe backs up, it actually runs, because it's basement, it's lower. So this is, looking at it today after this massive deluge we had last week, this solution, I hope, will solve everybody's problem, not just Mr. Divers, but get around that corner and help both the property owners.
Thank you, it's great. And it's gonna block off the runoff from the other side of the road too, right?
Yes, correct.
That's smart.
That will eliminate that.
Excellent.
And I'm happy to say that it took a little while, but the manager was very excited about the solution. So,
Sounds like more people will benefit from it.
yes, yes.
It's actually gonna, I think, probably be exactly what we should have done. It'll turn out good.
All right.
And the easement is signed, it will not be recorded at the courthouse because it is simply a temporary construction easement, so he was pleased with that, satisfied.
Thank you.
All right, next is the police report. Chief, you have any comments, or anybody have any questions for the report in your package? Hearing none, we'll move along. This is the second time in the meeting where, if anyone would like to come and address council, you may do so. Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move along. This concludes our open session town business tonight. I'm gonna recess this meeting for 3 minutes. When we return, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for the 3 items listed on the agenda. Anybody want a water?
I'll take one, please. I'll take one, please.
Ms. Nguyen,
I got one, thank you.
Mr. Gorman,
I'm
you
good,
good?
bro, I'm good, thank you.
How about Jake, you want a water?
Recycling.